Topic 6.2, the differentiation rules and examples involving algebraic, exponential, and trigonometric functions. So first rule is the constant rule. And the constant rule states that if f of x equals to c, where c is a constant, then the derivative of f of x is equivalent to 0. Meaning the derivative of a constant is always equal to 0. So, meaning, example, ang given function is f of x equals to 10. Number lang niya siya ba? Constant number lang siya. Or h of x equals to negative square root of 3. Or g of x is equivalent to 5 pi. Though pi is more siya variable, but this is still a constant. So, these are constant functions. So, constant functions ni sila tanan po nila derivative, 0 na to automatic. So, derivative of a constant is always 0. So, that's the point. Ang derivative sa constant is 0. Second rule is the power rule. The power rule states that if f of x is equivalent to x raised to n, where n is an element of natural number, then f prime of x is equivalent to n times x raised to n minus 1. So, mao na ang power rule. Kung saan na pag-apply si power rule, tingnan lang siya. So, first example, given tag f of x equals to x cubed. So, to solve for the derivative, dili na ka magamit atong f, Diyos ko, ano mo ni? F prime of x equals katuganing limit of f of x minus, again, no need na nimo gamiton si f prime of x equals to limit of f of x plus h minus f of x over h as h approaches to 0 na equation. Basta ani lang ang given. Ang buhaton lang nimo, let's say kani, ang given is f ang given nato is f of x equals to x cubed. Sige. Share tag whiteboard, ha? Okay. Ang given nato is f of x equals to x cubed. So, to solve for the derivative without using katong taas kayo nga formula, you simply kani ang exponent himuon nimo og coefficient. So that becomes 3 x tapos minusan lang nimo ang original exponent of 1. So therefore, by the way, this is f prime of x or the derivative of f of x. So simplifying this one, that's 3x squared. So mao na ato ang derivative ni x, f of x. So yung ana kasimple mag-differentiate kung gamit kag rules na. Dili na tong taas kaayo. So balik ta sa second example. Ang second example is 1 over x squared. Sige. 1 over x squared. G of x is 1 over x squared. So, g of x. So, is equivalent to 1 over x squared. How to solve for the g prime of x, ani? G prime of x. Using the power rule, kailangan sa nato ni himo og exponent. So this can be written as x raised to negative 2. Kay x raised to negative 2, same lang man ana. So, since naka-exponent na siya, pwede na nato to i-apply itong rule na kaning exponent niya, imo nimo coefficient. So, naatay negative 2. X raised to negative 2, but the original exponent, minusan nimo og 1. So, that becomes negative 2 x raised to negative 3. Or kung gusto nimo ibalik siya as fraction, negative 2 over x cubed na siya. So, depende sa duha ang answer ninyo. Actually, sa diri nga part, pwede po ninyo ibalik siya as fraction na. So, ingana, another example sa exponential, sa power rule. So, balik aganta. Ang last is square root of x. Sige daw. Sige. Next, ang h of x na to. H of x is equivalent to square root of x. And we are asked to solve for the derivative of h of x. So, again, kailangan nato ni in exponent form. And we all know sa grade 9 na to that square root of x is just equivalent to x exponent 1/2. So, h exponent 1/2, ang buhaton na lang is apply the power rule. Ang power rule again, ang exponent nato himo nato coefficient kaya mahimog 1/2 na diha. Itapad na nato x. Tong 1/2 nato nga original minus na nato 1. So, that's 1/2 x 1/2 minus 1. So, kung mag-solve ta without using calculator, 1/2 minus 1, that's over 1. Because multiplying this one becomes 1 kani minus 2 sa baba 2. So 1 minus 2 is negative 1/2. So that's negative 1/2. Or kana actually okay na ko ana, but kung gusto gyud gihapon ninyo ibalik siya as radical, then that's negative man siya. So ibaba na to. So that's 1 over 2 tapos x raised to 1/2. Tapos, pwede po siya muna siya og radical as 2 square root of x. So, masking asaan ang tulo ang inyong i-answer. Again, pwede na ko kana lang, pwede po ko ingana, pwede po ko ingani. So, that's how to apply the power rule sa differentiation para dili na kamag gamit atong taas nga formula sa derivative. So, that's rule number 2. Let's proceed sa rule number 3. Sige, sa rule number 3, here's rule number 3. For the rule number 3, that's called constant. Di na po mo po anong sana. Rule number 3 is the constant multiple rule. So, a constant multiple rule, if f of x equals to k h of x, where k is a constant, then the derivative of f of x is just equivalent to k times the derivative of your h of x. So, saan pag-apply ana? So, let's try. First, we are given kani, and we are asked to solve for the derivative. So, f prime of x. So, ang pasabot lang ana, continuation lang sa power rule. Pero ang nakakuan is naaman ni number dara. So, ang buhaton lang, i-multiply nimo si 5 ug katong exponent nimo nga 3/4. And then, ang 3/4 na original, minusan nimo og 1. That using the power rule. So, that becomes 15 over 4. Tapos, x 3/4 minus 1, that's negative 1/4. So, depende na na. So, kung gusto pa ninyo i-simplify. So, that's f prime of x or the derivative of f of x. Next, given tag g of x. G of x is equivalent to 1/3 cube root of x, and we are asked to solve for the derivative of g of x. To solve for the derivative of g of x, since naka-radical na siya, atua sa na siyang himuog exponential. That's 1/3. So kung exponential na siya, gamitan na nato constant multiple rule. Na amantay 1/3, i-multiply nato sa yang exponent, tapos katong exponent niya nga 1/3, minus na nato og 1. So 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. X exponent 1/3 minus 1, so 1/3 minus 1, so multiply ta dito, that's 1, dere, that's negative 3 over, sa baba is 3. Pila man na? That's negative 2 over 3. So negative 2/3. This is now our g prime of x. Kani f prime of x or the derivative of f of x. Next, there is h of x is equivalent to negative square root of 3. Negative square root of 3, x. So kani is medyo tricky siya. We are asked to solve for the derivative of h of x. To solve for this one, kailangan pa ba nato ni siya himuog exponential? Actually, dili na because kana is already pure constant. So, kopyahon lang na si negative square root of 3. Tapos, kaning x, wala man siya exponent. Actually, na siya exponent nga 1. Wala lagi sulat. So, mo to atong i-multiply times 1. Tapos, x, ang original na to nga 1, minus na to 1. That is now negative square root of 3 x exponent 0. And take note, x exponent 0 is actually 1. Okay, any number raised to 0 is 1 man. So, ang mabili na lang is negative square root of 3. This is now our h of x. So, yung ana pag-apply si constant multiple rule. Hopefully na kuha. Next is the sum rule. Sa po ni sum rule. Ang sa sum rule na to, our sum rule states that if f of x is equivalent to g of x plus h of x, where g and h are differentiable functions, then the derivative of f of x is just equivalent to the derivative of g of x plus the derivative of h of x. Pasabot ana kung naa kay duha ka functions nga gi-plus, pwede ra nimo pud i-plus ang iyahang mga derivative. As ingana sa sum rule, simple lang kayo. Kung plus, i-plus ra pud nilang derivative. But for the product rule, dili ingana ka simple because if f and g are differentiable functions, then the derivative of f of x times g of x is equivalent to the first f of x times the derivative of g of x plus g of x times the derivative of f of x. So para mas madali na ma-memorize, ginaingani na ako na pag-memorize. Ginabuhatan na ako pattern. First, the second plus second, the first. Kasi pasabutan na. Ang first na to, multiplyan na to sa derivative sa second. Plus, ang second na to, multiplyan sa derivative sa first. So, yung ana ang product rule. So, let's have an example. We are asked to solve for the derivative of f of x, given that f of x is equivalent to okay. Given that f of x is equivalent to kaning nga function. Okay. Actually, two ways ni siya. Pwede nimo i-simplify sa ni una Then apply ka og sum rule. So, or pwede na ka diretso mag product rule. Okay, ato ang i-discuss ang duha. So kung mag product rule ta, mag sum rule ta, kailangan nato ni simplify daan. Meaning apply tag FOIL method. So that's pila. That's 3x exponent 4. Multiply na pud na. That's negative 9x cubed. Sa baba na pud, that's negative 4x squared. And lastly, that's plus 12x. And to solve for your derivative of f of x, isa-isaho na ito nag-solve. Kana lang sa una. So applying katong constant multiple rule, di ma-multiply na siya. So mahimo siya 12x exponent 3. Nanong 3 na lang man, sir? Di ba? Minus na natog 1. 4 minus 1, kaya 3. Di-shortcut na lang nato. Next, kanina po, si 3, multiply na to kay 9. So that becomes negative 27. X exponent, instead na 3 ni dire, minus anog 1, 2 na lang. Kaya na ta dire na po ta. So 2 man ang yung exponent, multiply na to sa yung constant nga 4. So that's negative 8. X exponent, 2 minus 1, 1 na lang. Dili na kailangan isulat si 1. And lastly, plus, exponent na to diri nga wala is 1. So 1 times 12, that's 12. Tapos, 1 minus 1, 0. Minusan man nato ning sa kaning diri sa kilid sa 12 ug 1, di ba? So 0 na. So x raised to 0 again is 1. So pwede ra wala. Mao nang 12 na lang. So mao ni karon ato ang derivative. That's one way. But another way is applying katong first the second plus second the first para dili na ka, para diretso na. So unsa na pag-solve? This is another way ha. Ang derivative niya, since this is a product between 3x squared minus 4, atong first dire kani. Mano atong first function, kani atong second function. So, copy the first, that's 3x squared minus 4. Tapos, derivative sa second. So, derivative ani karon. So, x squared man na. So, baba na to si 2. So, mahimo siya 2x. Exponent 2 minus 1, 1 na lang. Minus, dari na punta kay 3x. So, negative 3. Tapos, x, 1 man na. Ang 3x na to, minusan na to 1, mas 0 na. So, 3 na lang mabilin. Actually, ang shortcut din ana, basta wala gani exponent ang variable. Pag mag-derivative ka, mawala na si variable. So, pareani ganina ba? 12x. Wala may exponent niyang variable. Mao nang pag-derivative na to, 12 na lang. Same with this one. 3x, wala may exponent. Actually, 1 ang exponent. Mao nang 3 na lang na diha. So, mao ni ang first, this second. Sunod, plus second. Copy ang second na to nga x squared minus 3x. Tapos, derivative sa first. So, dari na punta magtanaw. Pero, i-derivative na nato. So, derivative ni 3x squared. 3x squared, di ba? Multiply na. So, mahimo siya 6. X, 2 minus 1. Kaya, 1 na lang. Then, kaning 4, negative 4. Recall tong first rule na to, the constant multiple rule, constant rule. Na ang this is a constant man. So, derivative of a constant is 0. So, minus 0 ta diha. So, mao na ni karon ang second, the first na to. So, ang buhaton na lang, diya na lang ta mag-simplify. So, sa pag-simplify, FOIL method gihapon ta dire. So, that is 3x squared minus pila na? 9x, this is 3x cubed. Sunod, minus 9x squared. And then kani, minus 8x. And lastly, that's plus 12. Dari pa lang na. Dari pa lang na. Naapamantaan eh. And kaning 6x minus 0, pwede na nawala si 0. 6x na lang. So si 6x na lang atong i-distribute pasulod. So that's 6x squared, 6x times 6x, 6x times x squared, that's positive 6x cubed. Minus 6x times 3x, that's 18x squared. So simplifying, we have the derivative of f of x is 3x cubed minus 9x squared o 18x squared. Negative tanan. So negative 27x squared minus 8x plus 12. So kung tan-awon ninyo, same lang dere. So ang first process, nagamit siya og di-simplify niya una, then gamit siya sum rule katong isa-isahon. Ang second process, nagamit na siya og product rule katong first the second, second the first, tsaka niya gi-simplify. Whichever way, dapat same lang og ano man ning dili day ni 12, dili day ni 3 lang, napa man day 6 diri. 12 dapat ni. Okay, that's 12. So parehara 12 diri. So whichever masiasa nga way ang mong gamiton, same lang sila og result dapat. So that's how to apply sum rule o product rule. Hopefully, makapractice pa mo para mas masabtan unsaon paggamit siya. So let's proceed sa rule number 6. Ang rule number 6 is the quotient rule. And the quotient rule states that if f and g of x are differentiable functions with g of x not equals to 0, then the derivative of f of x divided by g of x is equivalent to g of x times derivative of f of x minus f of x times the derivative of g of x all over g of x squared. Again, makakabuhi gyapon siya og equation, so buhatan na pud nato ni siya og shortcut para madali siya memorizon. Ang kani, ang para short dali koan is kani ang akong ginagamit. LDH minus HDL over L squared. So pasabot ani, low D high minus high D low over L squared. Pasabot aning low, kaning denominator sa baba. D high, derivative sa high. Ang high na to is numerator. So low times the derivative sa high minus ang high times the derivative sa low divided by sa low squared. Again, ang low is the denominator, ang high is the numerator. So para mas dali siya memorizon. Kanina, first the second, second the first, kung product rule. Kung quotient rule, low D high minus high D low over low squared. So how will we apply that rule? So example ta. So let h of x be equivalent to this one. Just go. Okay. Let h of x be equivalent to 3x plus 5x over x squared plus 4. Compute for the derivative of h of x. Since quotient ni, we should apply the quotient rule. So again, ang atong quotient, again, sa to? Low D high minus high D low over low squared. So let's use the pattern. Solving for the derivative of h of x, low. So meaning ang derivative, copy lang si low. X squared plus 4. Mamanya itong denominator. times the derivative sa high. So sa high atong kuan, ang low kopyahon lang pero ang high atong i-differentiate. By the way, ang verb sa derivative is differentiate ha. So atong i-differentiate. Differentiating 3x plus 5. So ang 3x, di ba na exponent 1, multiply dito, or katong shortcut na lang nato, di ba basta sa tong ingon ako basta walay exponent, 1 ang exponent, automatic mawala ang derivative ana, mawala lang si variable. So 3 na diretso. And ang derivative ni 5, this is constant, 0 man na. So 3 lang. Okay. So that is low d high minus high na to, copy lang si high which is 3x plus 5. D low, this time derivative na pod sa low. Sa baba na pod ta mangita og derivative. And that is x squared. So again, the power rule, 2 ibaba. So may mo siya 2x tapos minusan og 1 si exponent. So 2x exponent 1 or wala na lang. And C4 again is a constant. So derivative of a constant is 0. So wala na siya. Then divided by low squared. So that's x squared plus 4 quantity squared lang. So ang i-simplify lang nato sa taas lang. Sa baba as is na lang na. So to simplify this one, distribute. So we have 3x squared plus 4x. This is 12. Tapos kani, distribute na to si 2x. So that's 6x squared. Pero, sige, ikaw na lang. Negative 6x squared. Tapos, kanina pod, plus 10x. Naapa lang gihapon si parentheses because naapay negative. Actually, kailangan pagyapon nato i-distribute si negative. Pwede po idungan nimo distribute na si negative. So copy si 3x squared plus 12. Distributing negative, that's negative 6x squared minus 10x. Okay, simplify ta. Kaning 3x squared o negative 6x squared. So we have negative 4x. Ay, sorry, ito'y nalimtan. Ang mga denominator, x squared plus 4, quantity squared. Kanipod, na-apoy denominator na x squared plus 4, quantity squared. So finally, gawin na lang natin isulat ang final answer ha. Ang 3x squared o negative 6x, that's negative 4x squared minus 10x plus 12 all over katunang x squared plus 4 exponent 2. So inana ang derivative niya. Basig na amoy nakitang mali sa process, please inform me ha. Kasi pag-operate na ako ba na mali. Basta ang process is nato.
So dili 3x squared ang ana.
3x squared ang mauna.
Dili kanang 4x squared, 3x squared.
Kaning 3x squared, kani?
Di ba, i-3x squared, i-add niyo mo sa negative 6x squared. That's 4x
squared. Sorry. That's correct. Tama, daan ko pa, na-agad ko na pan. That's negative 3x squared. Okay, thank you. Napa mo yung napansin mali nga sa process? Okay. Silence means none. Sige. So, salamat sa pag-correct. So, that's how to apply the quotient rule. So, rule number unsa na ta? 6. Let's proceed sa rule number 7. Kaning rule number 7, kailangan ni i-familiarize. Or mas nindot kung i-memorize. So, these are the derivatives of trigonometric functions. Grabe ang pastiyan. Grabe. Binangan dito. Sige. Derivatives of trigonometric function. So, derivative sa sin x, cosine x. Derivative sa cosine x, negative sin x. Derivative sa tangent x, secant squared x. Derivative sa cotangent, negative cosecant squared. Derivative sa secant x is secant x times tangent x. Derivative sa cosecant x is negative cosecant x cotangent x. Again, hinahinayin ninyo familiarize or mas maayo kung ma-memorize kay para dili na mo sige kuan. Pero sa sugod pwede ra gyud kayo mo magtan-aw sa copy kumbaga. So how will you apply this one? So let's have here some examples. First, given f of x is equivalent to secant x plus 3 cosecant x. How will we apply for the derivative of f of x? So, gamit lang ta ato ang katong ganina. Pangitaon na to si secant x. Secant x nara. That's secant x tangent x. So meaning derivative ni secant x is secant x tangent x plus kaning 3 constant man na copy lang. Then derivative ni cosecant. Unsa na pud ang derivative ni cosecant? Nara si cosecant. Ang derivative niya is negative cosecant x cotangent x. So ato lang nang negative times negative cosecant x cotangent x. So simplify na lang nato na. So that's secant x tangent x 3 times negative ani, so negative 3 cosecant x cotangent x. So actually mao na ang final answer sa derivative niya. So inana pag-differentiate og trigonometric function. Another example, reason na nako ni ha. Kani kato is dali raman kani medyo challenge. Kay ang given is na siya product x squared og sin x 3x cosine x tapos kani okay na siya. So solving for g prime of x or the derivative of g of x. So diri ta una focus. Dili ta diretso maka gamit sa derivative because again this is a product between x squared and sin x. Since product ni siya, we have to apply katong product rule. Sa ganitong pattern na to sa product rule, that's first the second plus second the first. So copy the first, tapos derivative sa second. Unsay derivative ni sin? Ang derivative ni sin is cosine. So cosine ta diha. Cosine x. So first the second pa lang ta ha. First the second pa lang ta. Napatay second the first. So plus ang second na to is sin x. Sin x times the derivative sa first. Ang first na to is x squared man. So derivative ni x squared, baba si 2. So that's 2x minusan og 1. So that's 2x na lang. So mao na ang derivative ani pa lang. Kani pa lang. Minus balhin tas diri sa pikas. Again, this is a product between 3x, negative 3x, 3x na lang diretso. Na may minus diri. So this is a product between 3x and cosine x. So, meaning, apply na po taaning first the second, second the first. So, minus the quantity na lang ta. First is 3x times the derivative of the second, which is cosine. Derivative ni cosine, tanata sa derivative ni cosine. Derivative ni cosine is negative sine. So, derivative ni cosine is negative sine. So, negative sine x. So, first, the second pa lang na, plus second is cosine x. Derivative ni 3x. Again, basta wala tayo ko under number, tanggalin na lang na nato sayang derivative, 3 na lang. So, morning para dere. Next, dere na ta. Kani actually, this is a product between 5 times sine x. Pero dili na ta kailangan mag first di second, second di first because constant man eh. So, pwede ra na to gamiton. Pwede na ito gamitin itong constant multiple rule, which is kapihon lang nato si 5. So, plus, dali na lang sa baba ha, 5 times the derivative na lang ni sine. And ang derivative ni sine kanina is cosine x man. So, mo na ni ang process. Ang buhato na lang is i-simplify na lang. Which is, mahimo siya x squared cosine x. Preferably, unahon ni mo si algebraic. So, parehaan ni, unahon na to si 2x before mag-trigonometric ka. And then kani, i-multiply raman nato ni no, 3x times negative sine x. By the way, dili ni mo pwede i-multiply si x diri og kang sine x diri ha. Dili na sila kay trigonometric ni diri algebraic na. So, ang multiply nato si negative times negative, so ma-positive na ta diha. Copy lang si 3x, tapos sin x na siya. Next, appeal pa man ni, distribute kay negative dito pod sa pikas na pod. So, mahimo siya negative 3. Giuna na ko si 3, copy lang si cosine x. And lastly, plus 5 cosine x. So, medyo taas-taas ang answer. So, actually, sa sugod, kutigid na. Ang kulang lang na actually, practice lang in solving. So, tingnan na siya. Yung trigonometric. So, I hope naka-follow man lang sa karon. Palag later on maka-practice para mas masabtan ang process. Okay? And lastly is, ang pinakasimple, ang rule number 8. Which is the derivative of exponential function. It states that if f of x is equivalent to e raised to x, the derivative of f of x is e of x, e raised to x gihapon. So meaning, derivative ni e of raised to x is that itself, kung baga. So example, I have here, sama ni. Aghan man kayo ni, isa lang atong i-discuss ani. So, kanina lang sigurong nasa tunga. We'll solve for kanina lang sa. So, given kag g of x, we are asked to solve for g prime of x. Okay, careful with this one because first, this is a product between kanang duha. So, kailangan nato mag-first di second, second di first. Sa baba na lang ta, kay marag taas-taas ni. G prime of x. So, meaning, copy the first, that's negative 4x squared, minus derivative sa second. Unsay derivative ni e raised to x? Maming first, maming second. Derivative ni e raised to x, again, rule number 8, e raised to x ra gihapon. First di second pa lang ni. Plus second di first. Copy si first, tapos derivative sa second. First di second, then second, derivative ni first. Ang first na to is negative 4x squared. Constant multiple, multiply na diha, so that's negative 8x. Tapos minusan na lag 1. So that's x exponent 1. So para diri panang na. Next, dito ta sa PCAS. Again, this is a product between 5x and e raised to x. So, copy the first, napunta. First the second, second the first, napunta. Kay product man na. So, copy the first nga 5x, tapos derivative sa second, this is our first, this is our second. Second is e raised to x. And again, derivative of e raised to x is also e raised to x. First, the second, plus second, tapos derivative sa first. Ang first na to this time is 5x. So again, wala man tayo, 1 man na tong exponent, so pwede na nato tanggalon na, 5 na lang. And lastly, minus, kani actually is a product between 10 o negative e raised to x. Pero, 10 is a constant, so gamit na lang tag constant multiple rule, kopyahon lang si 10, i-derivative na, i-differentiate na lang nato si e raised to x. And ang derivative ni e raised to x is just e raised to x. Simplifying, g prime of x, so magyapon, 4x squared e raised to x. Again, unahon na to si algebraic. So minus 8x e raised to x plus 5x e raised to x plus 5 e raised to x minus 10 e raised to x. So, na ba tayo masimplify na rin? Wala man no, may lahi man So, copy lang, 4x squared e raised to x. Pero kani, pareha sila negative 8x o 5x. So, pwede na ito masimplify si 8x o 5x. And that is negative 3x e raised to x. And kanipod, pareha sila constant na 5 o 10. So, pwede na ito i-simplify. 5 minus 10, that's negative 5. Tapos, copy lang si e raised to x. So, this is now your final answer. Simplified answer. So, that's rule number 8. That's all for the differentiation rules of examples involving algebraic, exponential, and trigonometric function. Thank you and see you next session.